And so as an introduction to the next presentation, Cezar last night was inducted into the CQDX Hall of Fame. So if you weren't there, saw it. So good stuff.
Let's move on. There you go. Yeah, let's move on. Thank you very, very much, guys. Just before I start this, even if you're not IOTA members, but if you heard of IOTA and if you infrequently chase IOTAs, can you show me can you do by a show of hands? Can you? Oh, okay. Well, it's more than I thought. Thank you. Thank you very much. Not enough, but anyway. So this expedition to Micronesia, you see there, V62S. By the way, this is the going forward. V62S and V62P. Why two call signs for the same expedition? You know, maybe one of them was FT8, maybe, I don't know. No. So the reason for this is because I was trying to operate from two IOTA references. So IOTA, it's the Islands on the Air program, and this is going to run in just a few seconds to level up here to bring everyone to a plane level field. So the program includes all open sea islands of the world associated in different groups. We can call them groups or references. It has a cap of 1,200 groups, and there's a certain structure, which I'm not going to go much into. But the bottom line is that credit nowadays can be obtained through a number of means. And as you can see at the bottom, 87% of all credits issued in 2023, for example, which were, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever, were through QSO matching. So that's directly through Club Log and Log of the World. So as far as this project is concerned, it's kind of started based on an idea that I had in 2019. And in Micronesia, which is, well, actually the name for the V6 is the Federated States of Micronesia. It's an area in the Western Pacific of about probably 1,800 miles, but by roughly 700 miles. So I don't know what that's in surface in terms of square miles, but, you know, there territorial waters are approximately almost five times the surface of the country of France. Why do I know that? Because it kind of matches. There may be some others that are close, but you know. So it's a huge territory. They have they have about 700 islands and 720 square kilometers of land. So in average, each island has about 1 kilometer. One square kilometer. So it's a very tiny nation. The currency is US dollar. Everything they have a constitution that's a mini copy of the US Constitution, and the country, which was formerly Caroline Islands, a territory of United States, you know, it's been kind of independent for the last almost 40 years. The plan was to operate, should go back though. The plan was to, for the IOTA program, there are 16 island groups, or references, and two of them, coded Oceania 299, has never been operated from. So it's a group of islands in the western state of Yap. There are 4 states, Yap, Chuuk, Pohnpei, and Kosrae. Whereas Oceania 155, which is the western part of Chuuk, has been operated a couple of times, last time 19 years ago at the time of this operation. So it's a pretty high demand. It's about 86% of the IOTA members needed that. So for the other ones, it's a brand new one. So I've been talking to, try to find a way to get to these islands in a decent form. And through the discussions, I got recommended by, the licensing authority to talk to the National Fishing Corporation, and the CEO, who is in Pohnpei, or the capital of Micronesia. He was a very, very interesting person. He got the gist of what I wanted. He offered me the transportation for $40,000, and it was a full charter. And I said, well, $40,000, nah, I'm not going to be able to do that. How about bringing it down? And we, talking about that, we came to the idea that maybe he can call me, or we can organize a trip to the western islands of Chuuk, the Oceania 155, for all sorts of villagers who may happen at that time to have a need. And I could embark on that trip, so the ticket would be, I don't know, $25. And then they'll, return. And then and then there'll be $20,000 to get a charter to Oceania 299. Based on checking with other groups in YAP, and it was by far the best deal, and I took it. So we made some preparations. There were some team members who were supposed to join. Unfortunately, I was supposed to be there in February. In January of 2020, the COVID hit, and the rest Fortunately, the guy, this CEO, died as a result of a tragic fishing accident, which is incredible to believe that a person of 62 who is, used to the sea, and but it happens. It happened. And so that happened in the late summer of, our summer there always, but in the late summer of 2020. And then the project went dormant, first of all, because there was no entry to FSM. It was a difficult exit from Canada. And, all the COVID stuff. And then finally, they replaced the CEO, and the new CEO, didn't have the time, and so on and so forth. So finally, by the spring of 2023, we start renoding this stuff. It kind of worked well, and the captain was a fabulous guy, Captain Callistus. He was a native of one of the group of 299, and he managed to arrange everything. Everything was planned. How we're going to be? How is it going to come back to pick me up from one island and drop me to the other, then come back and pick me from the So everything was laid out. Fortunately, 10 days before my departure, all the tickets were purchased, everything. He passed away. He had a massive heart attack, a massive stroke, and he passed away. And I had a discussion with the CEO. The CEO said, well, Cezar, I think we should stick to the plan. Just come over and we'll figure it out. Well, that figured it out, I've traveled to different remote destinations, and that figured it out is not really my style, and I didn't really like it at all. But I was already in the game, so Unfortunately, 2 days prior to the departure, I had a rather serious accident at home, which is as stupid as you can imagine. How can you possibly have an accident at home? And the result of that, I got an 1.25 inch, 3 centimeter diameter lesion on my scalp that required, I had to go to the emergency. The blood was all over the place. Everything else. And my wife said, well, you're not getting anywhere. What are you talking about? The thousands of guys out there waiting for me to get there. Of course I'm going to go there. And to top it, the doctor, the emergency doctor, whatever, he said, well, listen, you shouldn't cover your skull. That will heal faster. And they use some kind of liquid glue, whatever. I'm sure that some of you know that. Bottom line is that, I don't have a lot of hair left. And so traveling like this in the airplane, I thought the airplanes, companies are not going to let me go. But they did let me go. So finally I got there, and, it was, how should I say, it was an interesting voyage, let's put it this way. So, so finally we are in Ueno. By the way, Pat, I'll tell you from the beginning, this trip, which was supposed to take, including the voyage, the big voyage at sea, operation, everything, less than 14 days, it took 40. So that's Ueno. That's the capital of the state of Chuuk. It's a beautiful, all these islands, the islands of Oceania 299 and 155 that I mentioned before, of those groups, are all coral islands. But the island of Chuuk, as well as other islands in Micronesia, are of volcanic origin, so they're kind of relatively spectacular. So this is the boat. The boat was a 100-foot, power boat. They can easily take, 30 some passengers. It has four bunks for passengers. The rest just lay down, whatever they can. And for how long I had one bunk. It was just a solid hardwood bunk that, anyway, so it was a little interesting. So the first thing in Ueno when I arrived, I found out in a minute that, a few minutes, that I'll not be able to go to Pulap, which was the island I wanted to travel to in Oceania 155. Why? Because the locals, now that Callistus was gone, they wanted from me something that I was not willing to give, a lot of stuff, and it just was impossible. So basically, we couldn't go there. Luckily, the deputy mayor, they have a different organization from island to island, of Puluat, was in Ueno waiting for a way to get back to his islands, which were in Oceania 155, in the island of Puluat. So we talked to him, it was a very nice thing, and finally we arranged to go there. And so the idea was to arrange a group service to Western Islands for various people who might be interested to go there. The company makes money not from taking them there, but from the cargo that these guys have to bring them, and then from there charter to Sarawal, which is the island in 299. This is the dinner where pretty much is the new captain, the guy to my right. The new captain was first mate on under Captain Callistus, so he knew everything. He was just very, very nice person. So this is pretty much the path, the voyage, stopping into 8 islands initially. So leaving Ueno, stopping on 8 islands, doing all this downloading of cargo, and we stop outside the lagoon. The locals come in boats. They take this stuff, and finally, after everyone is dropped off, I brought with me a lot of guys who had relatives in Sarawal. They didn't pay. It was my invitation for them, getting nice with the locals, to bring them to Sarawal on the charter. And they all came back to me when I came back, because the last time this particular group went to, this particular company, boating service, made a trip to Sarawal was about 18 months earlier. And so it was very infrequent. Nobody could jive the two, so had to go with the charter. So the problem, part of the problems was that there was no first mate on the boat, and I swear God, I've been on many boats, and I tried my best to understand how this boat is maneuvered. There's no way in the world that had something happened with the captain. Well, he was 50 years old, looked in good shape, but anything is possible. My accident was, well, I'm older, so anyway. So, but if something happened with the captain, that was the level of risk that we had all to accept. That we'll be in deep trouble, because there's no way that anybody else would have been able to maneuver the boat. Then I purchased quite a lot of food, both for the team, for the crew. There were 9 crew, and for myself. But the best part of this, like, I don't know, eggs, cheese, doesn't matter now. They didn't make it to the boat. The funny thing is that I purchased it personally with, one on the FNC's team members, and he was supposed to deliver this by truck, and he delivered everything except everything that I really liked. So the bottom line is that I didn't really eat virtually anything, because the only thing they had was some kind of a spicy Korean stuff, which I didn't really like. But it's not a problem. I was elated. I was feeding on the fact that I'll be on the island, and the DXing and so on and so forth. So 4 days at sea. That's a photo with the captain is to my right, to the left of the picture, and these are some of the passengers. Lots of kids. They were sleeping whatever they could. It's not a big deal. It's a few hours from island to island, maybe half a day. Not that big a deal. And this is the beautiful island of Sarawal. It's a gorgeous island, approximately 1.1 square kilometers. pretty oval. It's a lone atoll, so it's a very, very beautiful place. These are the 3 chiefs. They have 3 communities on the island, approximately, if I remember correctly, about 500 people. And I was supposed to stay, you know, in a location that was run by one of these chiefs. The guy was a graduate of the University of Guam, but he came back a long time ago because once he got the chief position, you know, it was a big deal for them, and you know, he forgot everything else. So they invited me. We had. What I'm trying to say by that is that, although he knew virtually nothing about amateur radio, he figured out very quickly. He knew from Captain Callistus that I will be coming, but he figured out pretty quickly. He understood what the purpose is, all this ionosphere propagation stuff. You know, he was a sufficiently educated guy to pick it up very quickly, and he helped me tremendously, because whatever he said, everyone else did. And I was received, and I was there, just, you know, fabulous stuff. I was supposed to stay at this, you know, somewhere at this place, at this local. Unfortunately, it was very difficult. I put up the antennas, which it was a multi-band vertical, but it was very, very difficult to maneuver that. At night, this multi-band vertical does not have traps. I do not use an antenna tuner. So it's matched to so you have to get out, take it down, do some connection. It takes 2 minutes, but you have to have room to make sure that at night you're not going to start breaking things. It's very easy to fix, but I don't want to really fix things. And worse than that, there are a lot of metal roofs, you know, and the SWRs were pretty bad. Then we moved it outside here. It was not very good. So finally I said, there's no other choice. I have to put it on the beach. And the chief was gracious. He said, okay, well, you're going to have, you know, a place that this guy used to be together in the evening and drink, you know, an alcoholic beverage from which is called tuba, made from coconut water. Okay, so they harvest this. This is the place. And this is the hat that they gave me. So initially, for the first couple of days, I was operating CW, and they were laughing, and it was kind of very noisy. But then they kind of figured out, I never told them to go away, but they kind of figured out that's probably not best for them. And then at some point, I was doing SSB. When they were coming, I had to go CW. So anyway, but they were very nice, so they let me do my thing. There was well, this is the setup. You know, you can see, oh, sorry. This is the setup. You can see right behind me, there's a bench. You can see there's 3 benches around, but, you know, and I was just laying on the bench at night. You sleep there. There was a ton of sand flies, but very interestingly, the sand flies are, there's really a barrier. They're right on the beach. So once you step outside of the beach, there's no problem. So, and it was very quick to go and take down the antenna, change the bands, a few flies, not a big deal. So I took at some point some time, and you know, I brought some school supplies for the local community. And well, here's a photo. Indexa helped financially. They supported this thing, and I'm with the local teachers, and the person holding the flag is the school director. And you know, they were doing fishing from time to time. The chief said he's one member of the community for as long as he's going to stay here, and so I got the same portions as everyone else. And, you know, my guest was doing the cooking, so it was a very good time, okay? This is a typical local, I guess, boat storage place. Unfortunately, just to give you an idea, they have to redo the roof every 12 months. So if they're lucky, they might last 14, 16 is very rare. So it seems to me a tremendous amount of work. Anyway, this is the hut when the wind was blowing. The hut was I was operating when the wind was blowing. So they gave me different things, but you know, it was extremely hot. It was cooking inside if the wind wasn't blowing. So I had to be very careful. And the moment the wind stopped, I had to open this and let it breathe. And then, you know, you have to do it when the wind is blowing, or otherwise the sand just lands on the equipment and it's accumulating in, you know, tremendous order. So this is a photo with, you know, I'm gonna go fast. These are very important people who helped me on the island. The person to the far left of the photo is my guest. So, you know, I'm most thankful to them. But that's a photo of the antenna with the IOTA flag. And then from here we go to, there's a lot in between, but we'll talk about this in a minute, in a few seconds. This is the island of Pulap. It's a multi-atoll, so this is one of the islands that are part of the atoll. Just a couple. I wanted to install the antenna in this place, which is relatively open in front of the local church. Unfortunately, it was deemed unsafe because they had a number of people from outside. They were doing construction work. There are no facilities on the island, so you have to do, well, the locals do their necessities in buckets and they go and dump them into the lagoon. That's when they don't go directly to do them in the lagoon, which is most of the time. But in my particular case, that was not possible. So it was very difficult during the day and extremely unpleasant at night because it was full of mosquitoes. Now, I'm very used to mosquitoes. I've traveled to numerous northern communities in you know, Nunavut in Canada, and there's tons of mosquitoes, and I kind of got taught, or you know, I learned from the locals how to toughen up. I've been to many, many islands where the mosquitoes were a big problem, but unfortunately here, just by scratching, this is the setup inside one of the school classes, and the layout was, you know, my bed was, you know, with some sheets directly on this cement floor. So for 24 days continuously, I either rested or slept on very, very hard surfaces. I didn't know that ahead of time. Maybe I would have bought some pneumatic mattresses or something, but it didn't. You know, nobody told me. I didn't expect that. Never happened to me before. Again, visiting the school, well, I was, you know, there, so, you know, now, so there are a lot of issues that happened, which I'm not going to have time to discuss about, but the bottom line is that instead of coming and picking me up, well, the boat came and picked me up and took me to Pulap from Sarawak, but then instead of doing a touring with the local hydro group, they were supposed to you know, do tests for a solar panel farm on the island. Some of their team got sick, and they slowly had to go back. They went to some other islands to do some other stuff, but they slowly went back, kind of a semi-emergency, to Ueno. And then they didn't have the means to come and pick me up because there was not part of the deal that they will go back, and now they had to kind of, what are you going to do? You need some locals to come to visit their homes and then to arrange something that wouldn't cost much. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and that lasted a long time. And in the end, there was a lot of discussions between us and no hard feelings, but I said, well, I'm not going to pay more, right? So they wanted either $8,000. I didn't want to do that, so I had to wait until they were able to manage to come and pick me up. The problem was that here, due to different chores that these had to do, the locals had to do, and some other reasons, they weren't fishing as the other guys did and whatever, I wasn't really fed. Like, they were supposed to serve 3 meals a day, 3 small meals a day. Well, I was given probably at most 0.6, 0.7 of 1 every other day. And there's no other meal. So what I decided to do, very stupidly, the third day when I already knew that it's not going to be a meal the second day, so every, I decided to halfen. I decided to eat half, and I knew there was hot. I knew there was humid, but I said, well, I'm going to try. But I was so hungry. I really was so hungry. Usually I take with me all sorts of bars and things, but I didn't do now because, this was an inhabited place. It was, if those guys eat something, I should be able to eat something, right? So by 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, operating, I was so hungry. I said, I'm going to just take just a little bit of what I kept for the second day. It was so bad. And I swear God, it came to my mind, all those guys in survival things. I said, well, listen, I've seen those guys eating worms. I never did that, but that's protein, how bad it could be. Well, there were no worms in that thing, and it smelled and tasted so badly, and I throw it out. So it was, so it was not one thing that made it difficult. It was just a bunch of issues that got together. The uncertainty of moving from here to there, the food, the rest, the hard surfaces, and So anyway, this is the log. What we aim to do with IOTA, well, I aim to do with IOTA is to pretty much what Adrian said as well, kind of have about a third, with Asia, Europe, and North America. Oceania is usually, in my expeditions, around 2.5, 2 to 3%. Africa is very low, and South America is normally about 1%, but, conditions, try to do the best we could. That's what we managed to do. By the way, the operation was only CW and SSB. I have FT8 as well as 40 meters in reserve, just in case. There's a long story about that, which I'm not going to get into. And these are the QSL cards. And I have for the two, and I'd like to thank a lot of groups and individuals who provided a lot of, assistance. So I'm not going to read them. You know the logos, and I'm just going to show some individuals. There were many, many, many more, but, these are the guys who helped financially most. And I have to thank also a bunch of other guys who are very important for, even despite of some issues that we might have had, they were very critical, and without them, this could not have taken place. Absolutely not. Finally, I was invited to submit to send some article about these adventures, whatever. And the funniest thing that ever happened to me is the title of the cover that Radio Rivista had, which in English is V62S and V62P. Cezar beats Murphy 2-0. So, they told me they're going to put this photo on the cover. They never told me about this. And the first time I saw it, I think I sent it to Adrian because I was so elated. How could they come up with this? It was indeed against all odds. Now, just to give you an honest example, I keep a list of the most demanding, dangerous, whatever you want to call it, kind of, I guess, demanding operations that I've. So it's just sheer stupidity with a little bit of bad luck, but there's nothing really dangerous. It was nothing really dangerous. Was nothing really. We were not sinking. We were not, So that's to give you an idea about these IOTA pursuits. So anyway, thank you very, very much for having me in this big DXing community.